Hello, welcome to Watan Al Karama News Service. It is 9 p.m. our time for top stories, and we start with latest developments and top news items from the Libyan state. Parliament member Aysal Arabi said to Watan Al Karama News channel that 67 members of Parliament have voted to approve the political agreement, provided that an appellation of Article number A stating that the military positions will be vacant. The Parliament, in the presence of 104 members, also voted to reject authorizations of Faiz Sarraj government, actually by 89 members. Larabi noted that what has been rejected is only a Sarraj government and not the Presidential Council, pointing out that the meeting was not attended by boycotters and finished after the end of its agenda. Larabi said that the Parliament required both Ali Al-Gatrani and Omar Al-Aswad to return to Presidential Council after the demise of reasons for their membership suspension. Parliament member of Defense and National Security Committee Tariq Al-Jroushi said that a committee of military experts of international specialists in counter-terrorism, including retired military personnel, has finally arrived in Libya. Al-Jroushi noted that a committee consisted of international experts specialized in the fight against terrorism, but not military forces, and their number is 11 persons from different countries who are present in the eastern region. I met with leaders of the army and the general staff to train some elements of the army on the use of electronic devices and communications. Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Mohammed Al-Dairi participated in the first ministerial meeting of the Forum on Arab-Indian Cooperation, which was held in the Bahraini capital Al-Manama. Al-Dairi delivered Libya's speech during this meeting, during which he stressed that the importance of supporting Libya at this sensitive stage, particularly supporting and arming the Arab-Libyan armed forces in its war against Daesh and other terrorist groups. Moreover, he welcomed the launching of cooperation prospects with India. The head of the Presidential Council of the National Unity Government, Faiz Sarraj, arrived at Al-Hawari Boumediene International Airport in Algeria coming from Cairo Airport, where the Algerian Prime Minister Abdel Malik Salal and other official state were waiting him. During this one-day short visit to Algeria, he was accompanied by 6 members of the Presidential Council, and he will back to Cairo again to discuss the latest developments on the critical situation in Libya. The Algerian government says that a Sarraj tour comes within the framework of continuing Algeria's efforts to continue the political solution between the Libyans to preserve the sovereignty of this country and the unity of its people. The chairman of the National Oil Corporation Institution, Naji Al-Maghribi, said that the institution lost nearly 4 million barrels of oil in the tanks because of the recent Al-Hilal al-Nafti attack. Al-Maghribi discussed in the meeting in Benghazi means of providing technical support to the firefighters and operating room of the Al-Hilal al-Nafti, pointing out that they have visited the oil installations guards and we briefed on the possibilities available to them and the circumstances existing. Moreover, he called on the interim government and the parliament to provide full support to the young guard of institutions and firefighters in the oil companies. And now to Derna, a citizen was killed and 5 others injured after a missile was launched on a house in the East Coast region of Derna. A source said that the East Coast neighborhoods and Bab Tobruk are exposed on a daily basis to random shells because the East Coast is very near to Al-Arba'mi'a district and Bab Tobruk is near from Al-Kurvat al-Sab'a area. The source pointed out that Derna youth managed to repel an attempt to Daesh terrorist group to approach Al-Kurvat al-Thalitha during the past 2 days. And now to reaction to Human Rights Watch. The human rights organization Human Rights Watch condemned the fall of the 4 missiles at a displaced camp in Benghazi, which resulted in the death of 3 civilians and wounding others, including 2 children, on the 9th of January. The organization's report said that the death toll of civilians casualties rises, citing the report adopted by the UN Security Council last month, which emphasized the readiness of imposing travel ban and freezing assets on those found responsible for the planning of actions in violations of international human rights law or the applicable international humanitarian law. In the meantime, the organization called on Security Council members to face their threats, punish individuals responsible for serious crimes, and help preventing the aggravation of the crisis. And now our time, and we go now to the international items. Now from Syria, talks on ending the war in Syria are expected to start on Friday, January 29, and take 6 months. The UN Syrian envoy de Mistura told a news conference today in Geneva. De Mistura, who said the hopes to send out invitations tomorrow, said discussions about who would be invited were still ongoing. He said a first phase of talks would last to 3 weeks with a focus on a ceasefire, stopping terrorist Daesh group, and increasing humanitarian aid. Governors, a constitutional review, and future UN-sponsored elections would also be priorities. De Mistura added that first priority will be the focus of the talks of what most Syrians, if not all, want to hear: the possibility of a broad ceasefire and the possibility of stopping the threat of Daesh, and therefore thanks to broader ceasefire and increase of humanitarian aid. He further said that discussions on who should take part were ongoing in various capitals, including Washington, Moscow, Ankara, and Riyadh. Dozens of unemployed graduates in Catherine's held a sit-in today to request more job openings and regional developments in the impoverished Tunisian tower, mounting pressure on Prime Minister Habib Said's government after a week riots over joblessness. Protesters said they will not stop until they get a response, demanding the government stop giving us false promises. Last week, thousands of young men took to the streets after an unemployed man committed suicide when he was refused a job. That sparked rioting in several cities across the country until the government declared a nationwide curfew. Said has said that he understood the demands of young Tunisians, but that it would take time to respond to them. Tunisia has been held up as a model for democratic progress since the 2011 revolution, but the government is facing increasing challenges, including a split within the ruling party Nida Tunis militancy, a weak economy, and last week an explosion of social tension over jobs and opportunities. And now we transfer to the EU reactions to Daesh group. The EU's policy agency said today that terrorist Daesh group and other militants are very likely to mount big new operations in Europe following the attack on Paris last year. Europol said in a report there is every reason to expect that Daesh-inspired terrorist or another religiously inspired terrorist group will undertake a terrorist attack somewhere in Europe again, but particularly in France, intended to cause mass casualties among civilian population. This is in addition to the threat of lone actor attacks, which has not diminished. At a news conference to mark the launch of a new European counter-terrorism center within Europol, based in The Hague, its director Rob Wainwright said that the assessment by EU national security chiefs showed the extremist Daesh group is capable of further attacks. And now our time with the refugees and German reactions to the migration crisis. The leader of Chancellor Angela Merkel's Bavarian allies, Horst Seehofer, said today that his conservative Christian Social Union, CSU, would use all the legal means at its disposal to curb the flow of refugees into Germany. We will exhaust all political and legal means from Bavaria, as Seehofer told a news conference in Munich. The people expect that of us. The comment comes amid mounting pressure on Merkel to bring an end to Germany's open-door refugee policy, which saw 1.1 million asylum seekers enter the country last year. Seehofer said the CSU supported a controversial suggestion by the deputy leader of Merkel's Christian Democrats to set up border centers along the frontier with Austria to speed up repatriations of rejected asylum seekers. Merkel held talks with Tunisian Prime Minister Ahmed Daoud, Turkish Prime Minister Ahmed Daoud in Berlin last week, promises to unlock EU funds in return for Turkey's help reducing the number of people entering the bloc. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website www.watanilkarama.tv. Thanks very much for being with us. My greeting, Rانيا البليدى.